I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Iron Maiden-Infinite
Dreams of the live version.
Yes! I'm such an Iron Maiden fan. Haven't been able to listen to them in quite some time.
This is for the big homie Hernan. Is that how you say it? Hernan?
Hernan, I guess.
Hernan.
Is it my non or your non? It's Hernan. Yes, Iron Maiden Infinite Dreams. Now, there are multiple ways to get your song reviewed. Dear listener, my favorite is a community option. $1 to gate gets you in at Patreon. You join an alliance, you pull your points together, and that determines what songs we do. Or you can go the Ronin option or the Filthy Capitalist option if you're a Filthy Capitalist like Sori. $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You do that 3 times, it goes down to the $75 rate.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. So, Infinite Dreams. Oh, by the way, you may have noticed our background is a little bit cooler. That's because Antiqua gifted us some of their merch.
There it is.
So Antiqua is the band that combines Lindsay Schoolcraft from Cradle of Filth and Zen from Nebula Viscaris. They're coming up with a super group. It's going to be ridiculous. We're going to give away one of these Antiqua flag thingamajiggies, and we're also going to give away this.
Oops, sorry, babe. That's our address, so put it this way.
This Antiqua CD. It's like a limited edition vinyl. There's only like 7 of them in the world.
I actually want to open it and see what it just looks like.
I know. I was like, Lindsay, if you'd have told me there's 7 of them in the world, I would have bought a second one.
So wait, why are we giving it to the channel?
Eventually, we're gonna figure out. I guess the person with the best comment on this thingamajiggy wins the flag.
No, not on this thing. That's just weird. So we did an interview with them.
Yeah.
And so if you watch the interview and, I don't know, comment on that. Comment on the interview or on their song.
Actually, I have a better one. Right? Send a screenshot of you sharing the interview.
Oh, so or their song. We also did a reaction to their
interview or the reaction to their song, and we will
Antiqua. Look up Antiqua.
Yeah, it's called Feudal Crown. We'll
Vin
put you
Sori,
in the
Antiqua,
thing, and you can
share
get
one of those things.
Antiqua limited edition thingy and the flag. So we're gonna have 2 winners.
Yep.
One quick word before we go on. A couple of you, I'm sure it was from a good place, expressed concern that the kids were commenting on the song.
The kids were,
There's a song called Nigger. I've got 2 black kids, so I was like, let me see what you guys are.
He's got more than 2, but there were 2 that were commenting.
We don't believe that children are like some different thing over there. Like, we believe that our kids are little people, and if you explain to them a political idea or things like that, we believe that they've got the brains enough to come to a conclusion and pick a side. So I understand that not everybody would involve their kids in that and all the rest of it, but I did think it was important, especially the subject matter, because the boys captured the range in the black community as to how to relate to that situation. So thank you guys for the concern, but it's our full and firm belief that the kids are little people. And so, Dorian's 15 years old. I asked him, like, what age would that be when it would be right to expose your kid to that or have your kid comment on it? Like, what age would it be? In 3 arbitrary years when he turns 18, he's...
What did he say? What did the person say?
There's no answer to it. But like I said, I think the concern came from a good place. So I just wanted to address it.
Have you seen there's like a meme, and the person will ask, like, where is your license for whatever, and then they'll be like, hold on, let me get it, and it's like them passing the license, and then it gets like a zoom up and it's like, none of your fucking business.
Yeah.
So yes, I get it, your buddy was coming from a good place, but it also makes me think,
well, I mean, you're a public figure, right? So like,
I answer to no one.
I think if you're the public figure guy, then people are gonna make commentary, and rightfully so. Okay, we're spending way too much time on it. Let's go.
I would have judged us 5 years ago. Ready? Dang it.
You judging someone? No.
Not me.
Not Jojo.
I didn't have the nickname Jojo. Here we go.
Do you hear anything?
It's coming.
Oh, starting off with the solo. God, I love Iron freaking Maiden, bro. Full screen that shit.
He's smiling.
Oh, right. Oh, here come the harmonies. Holy moly.
What is that?
again. Here we go. Someone checks it and get a bell.
Yeah, my voice.
Standing with you and understand you. What a dream, where will it end? And will I transcend? Breaks the sleep, the mind's in turmoil. One nightmare ends, another fertile. Getting to me, so scared to sleep, but scared to wake now into deep. Even birds reach new heights and revelate. The restless life makes me wonder, makes me think there's more to this. I'm on the brink, it's not the mirror. What's beyond it? Just a novice, but I have an interest. Almost screaming, would I like to get to married? Can we all coincidence? Too many things I'll evident to tell me you're unbelievers. Spiritualists, may I neither. Would you like to know the truth of what's out there? To have the proof of finding right side to run. Where would you end? In heaven or in
This is really their signature, man. That guitar sounds crazy, bro. Here it goes.
help me to find out yourself and see in the future. Save me from touching myself even within my dreams.
Alright, so let's see it. Back to the gas, pretty nice. I gotta do this, baby.
It's got to be more to it than this. Tell me why do we exist? I'd like to think, and when I get a chance, another turn to return, live again, reincarnate, play the game again and again and again and again.
Yes, Pinky.
They were young. They were young in this video, and they looked so happy. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I mean, they generally kind of look happy when they play.
Yeah, I guess every face shot that they were going in, everybody just seems so, I don't know, they look happy.
Too,
they look
if you were one of the best bands of all time.
Oh my gosh.
All the time. It just, their instinct, I'm sure probably in the 80s people were like, oh my god, Iron Maiden is so repetitive in the way that they do those, those little runs on guitar where it's melodic and they hit the fast beat in the back and it's really inspiring and makes you want to run your mile. But I don't care because it's so good. I don't care if they did it on every record. I don't care. Yeah. It's so good. And it's it's one of those things where like, it's something, what's the difference between a person just being, guitarists talk about this a lot, like, forced inside of a box and not being able to get out.
Yep.
And so you're repeating the same things. But then at the same time, they'll say, oh, this is this person's guitar style.
Right.
So it's like, well, if it's a style, that means that it's something that is not necessarily unique to them, but they do it in a way that is like, oh, you can tell he's playing.
Yeah.
Which means there's got to be some sort of repetition in order for you to identify it.
Yes, but at the same time, there's repetition with creativity. Like when you think of Tool and the way that he goes about it, it's like, oh, okay, this is a Tool song, but it has variation and it brings you on different types of journeys.
Right.
Where, some bands that I still like, but like Ghost.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a Ghost song and it sounds very much the same. You know what I mean? Like the level of variety is not.
Well, it's just his vocal style is so distinct on Ghost that, it's almost hard to conceive of. It seems like they're driven more by dude's vocals, right? Versus Tool is more like the rhythm section, the bass and the drums. It seems like that's the start or the basis for every Tool song, and then obviously Maynard's signature voice. But I agree with you. Like, but that's my thing. It's like they do it repetitively, for 30, 40 years or whatever. But it's always good.
Yep.
So I don't care.
What are you gonna do?
I don't care. It's always good. What do you think the song was about?
The life after death. Stuff like that. Let me pull up actually that.
Yeah, there was some life after death stuff toward the end, I think.
The beginning I was focusing on them, and then the end I focused on the lyrics.
Reincarnate, play the game. This song kind of reminded me a little bit of Inception, because it starts off talking about, these infinite dreams, and then at the end, to your point, he's talking about death. And Inception, they would fall asleep and they would go into this world, and it wasn't really real though. But I think if you died in that world, you died in real life. Wasn't that the thing? I
think so.
Or is it you have to jump off a thing or whatever to get back? No, that was Vanilla Sky. What am I talking about?
I was like, I don't remember that.
Yeah, Vanilla Sky was one of those similar type of
situations.
One of those type of situations. Vanilla Sky was one of those situations where like you were in this alternate whatever.
I don't think I ever saw Vanilla Sky. Well, why are you telling this?
Well, no, it's like first 5 minutes, like. Oh. You have to jump off a thing to get out, and then, but it's like, well...
Am I there or am I not?
Correct.
Should I jump? Should I not?
Correct. And Inception was kind of similar, like, they got in so deep in Inception that at the end of it, the top is spinning or whatever, and you're like, I don't know where they are.
Right.
Like, so then it talks about, at first he's talking about a dream, and then he's talking about, obviously, dying and reincarnating again or whatever. So, that was cool. I really, really like that. It's a pretty. That's another thing that's kind of. We talked about schizophrenia yesterday, but like, that's one of those questions.
What video was that we talked about schizophrenia in?
It's like yesterday's video, I think.
Yeah, I know, but people that are not going to know what yesterday's video is a month from now. Was it?
I don't know. Probably.
Wasn't this one Orbit Culture?
Yeah, it's probably that. Open Eye.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no, Circling the Drain, I think was.
I'm pretty sure it was Open Eye actually by Orbit Culture. Because, and Open Eye is really interesting because now I get it, like you sleep with one eye open, right? Like you're always on hypervigilance because the guy was hearing all these voices.
Yeah,
but if you go here, it's like...
Oh yeah.
I was never really like into the Freddy Krueger movies or whatever. Like, I was never really into that as a kid. My older brother was. He thought it was scary. My younger brother was scared to death of it. I mean, he was absolutely terrified of Freddy Krueger. Terrified. I wasn't. I was never really interested in that stuff. I'd rather go downstairs and play my Mario or Street Fighter or whatever. However, when I look back at it, the concept is scary as hell because he comes after you in your dreams. And it's like...
Oh, Freddy Krueger does?
Yeah. That's the whole thing. Is he exists in the dream. He doesn't exist in real life. He doesn't live in the outside world.
Oh,
actually.
Really?
Yeah, when the kids go to sleep, that's when he shows up. So, I mean, I think in the later shows he crosses over to the real world after like the 15th Freddy Krueger movie, but the first couple ones it was like if you go to sleep, that's why they call it, the Dream Master. I think
that's scary because you're alone.
Well,
like if I'm scared to go downstairs, I can bring you with me.
Right.
But if I'm scared in my dream, I'm by myself.
Well, I think the kids figured out, and they figured out a way to fall asleep at the same time.
So they can be in the dream together?
So they're both in the dream and, whatever. But, like, the concept...
I wish we could do that.
I remember when I first saw, like, when I sat down and actually saw it. And again, I wasn't scared. But there's still entertainment value. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why I never really did the horror movie thing. Because I was like, none of these things are really going to scare me. So it's like Halloween. It's not really, whatever. But...
That's why psychological thrillers freak me out.
Right. When I sat back and saw it, I was like, holy that's a crazy situation to be in. Because how could you not sleep? Like,
I know.
I'm a guy that, whatever, I'm, if I didn't have my medicine, I would be up, I'd probably average, at this point, probably an hour and a half of sleep a night or something crazy like that. Like, so, it's like... Doesn't matter how much of an insomniac you are going to pass out eventually. Mm-hmm. Like these guys in these horrible selection courses, when they're carrying old misery, and like these guys fall asleep on their feet, like carrying this horrible, it's just impossible to avoid. So to me, I was like, whoa, this is terrifying as hell because it's like there's nothing you can do.
Right.
Like your body is going to shut down when the battery runs out. Period. End of story. Like. So it was just a crazy concept. I was like,
and the thing is, like, if you kept yourself awake for like an extended period of time,
right.
you're gonna sleep hard and long.
Correct.
So when you're in, you're in.
So the likelihood of you escaping that shit is actually lowers exponentially. So like being trapped in a dream and then not being able to tell the difference between the real. The reality and the dream world, I think is another one where that's a terrifying thought. Like, what if you're dreaming? You know what I mean? Like I heard.
Oh, I know.
I heard somebody said something really interesting about. They're like, you wake up at 11:59 at 2020, and you text your friend and say, "Yo, I had the craziest dream." Like, the whole horrible year was all just a dream, and you could wake up for it, and Kobe would still be alive, and we wouldn't have close to 200,000 dead Americans via COVID, and, there's just so many horrible things that happen, and you almost wish it was a dream. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So, and I've had a couple dreams like that. Have you had dreams like that, where, like, everything went wrong and horrible, and then you woke up and you're like, oh my God, yes, this is good.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm
it's especially if I have a dream where you die. Yeah. Then I'm like, this is horrible, everything, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, good. But there's sometimes where I'm in a dream. It's like sometimes I lucid dream and I know that I'm dreaming, but then there's also other times where I'm like, this is so horrible that I have to be dreaming because I don't believe that this would actually be happening to me right now. This has to be a dream. Yeah. And then the whole time I'm in the dream, I'm second guessing. I'm like, but I don't know if it is. Maybe. Those dreams are usually like, I did some horrible thing. Like, like where you don't actually, in your dream, you don't actually do, like let's say all of a sudden I had this dream that I cheated on you. Like, I don't have the part of the dream where I cheated. It's the knowledge after, oh my gosh, I cheated.
Yeah.
So then it's like, how could I have let this? What happened? You know what I mean? There's no going back. And then I'm like, no, this cannot have happened. Why don't I remember what happened? How do I know this? You know what? Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's getting me so scared to sleep, but scared to wake up now I'm in too deep. That's a very interesting right there.
It's true though, like the other, over there, someone chasing I cannot move, like, you know those dreams where you cannot, like you're like moving
sleep paralysis
so
stuff.
slow and the bad guy's coming, or you need to scream and you can't, you're just like silenced. See, that 1.5 hours of sleep is getting to you. Actually, you're getting more than 1.5 hours, but it's still not much more.
Well, I said if I didn't have my medicine. Oh, I'm getting more than 1.5 hours. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what were you gonna say?
When he said that, like going slow, or when you're trying to scream in a dream and you can't.
Yeah, it's brutal stuff. But at the same time, like there is something in like the human soul that's like attracted to that type of terror. Because he says, I'm scared to wake up. You know, I'm scared to sleep, which makes sense because you're being, you know, terrorized by this whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's also afraid to wake up. Mm-hmm. You know, and then obviously, if you really want to get meta with it, it's like, which world is scarier? Yeah. You know, the dream world where you had a nightmare, or the real world. Now, obviously, if you're looking at 2020, holy moly, like reality is scarier than fiction at that situation. So yeah, that was just a crazy concept to me as a kid, the whole Freddy Krueger situation. Wouldn't you like to know the truth of what's out there to have the proof and find out just which side you're on? Where would you end up, in heaven or hell? Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's actually a very potent question. Wouldn't you like to know the truth of what's out there to have the proof? I was had a conversation with one of my atheist buddies, and he said, look, man, I don't see any evidence for God, and every time I try to ask you guys for evidence of God, you never provide evidence for God. And I said, all right, that's fair. What's your standards of evidence? He goes, I don't know. But if God's all powerful, blah blah blah, he can show me yada yada yada. At that point, I'm like, okay, like this dude has created a heuristic that will shelter him from any sort of contracting any sort of belief whatsoever. Right. You know, say like mentally he's quarantined himself from the idea. And I think that's like a blind spot that a lot of people on the Christian and the non-Christian side have, is the fact that people are not androids. I say this all the time. Like, you're going to look at a piece of data. We're both looking at the same piece of data. Mm-hmm. But depending on your presuppositions, you're going to interpret that data in a way that matches what you presuppose 90% of the time. Yeah. A good example would be, you know, Tamir Rice gets shot. So we're all looking at the same thing. Cop jumped out. Rest in peace, Tamir Rice. I think he had a birthday a couple days ago. Police jumps out of the car, lays the kid down in a second. A whole bunch of black folks that have the presupposition, law enforcement, particularly white law enforcement, is against us. Here's a black child. Boom, they kill him. Mm-hmm. Because I'm presupposing that this guy's a bad actor. For whether it's valid or not, I'm just saying. It's an example of how presuppositions affect your interpretation of reality. Mm-hmm. White guy's looking at the Tamir Rice thing, Republican, whatever, typical guy, and he goes, well, mm-hmm. and so like that question is crazy. Wouldn't you like to know the truth of what's out there to have the proof? That's a very important question, because Greg Bonson actually.
Who's that?
He's basically the father of presuppositionalism.
Oh, okay.
His doctoral dissertation was on the human mind's propensity towards self-deception. So, like, that, and the guy's a presuppositionalist, and so it makes a lot of sense as to why he'd go there, because his understanding is that he interprets Romans 1 to say that every single human being knows without a shadow of a doubt that there is not a God. Yep. But that they suppress the truth of that knowledge in order to, you know, continue in their disbelief of God. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, so his whole thing was, why are we going to sit here and argue with these people and give them so-called evidence, right? When their presupposition makes it impossible for them to accept it as evidence. Mm-hmm. What you should try to destroy or whatever is the presupposition. So once you do that, then you're able to talk about what's going on with the data. And I just thought that was I'm pretty close to that. There's been a couple of villagers that have changed my understanding of Romans 1. I don't think that's obviously you can't say it's talking about every single human being on the planet, because there are also people where Jesus says you're not far from the kingdom. So
right.
So yeah, that dissertation by Bonson was really, really interesting because human beings have a massive capacity for self-deception. The confidence that people have in their self-understanding is it's crazy to me.
Do you think it's something I would like reading, or do you think I'd be like, oh, it's too long?
I mean, it's a dissertation. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll send it to you. You might like it.
Okay.
But, I just think that there's a lot of truth there. I'm not saying it's the absolute truth, but I definitely think there's a lot of truth to it, depending on who you talk to. Mm-hmm. But that's something where it's like, people are convinced that their self-understanding is completely objective. I'm not even talking about the data. I'm talking about a person's assessment of themselves. Mm-hmm. They believe it's completely objective and it's right and all the rest of it, and there's no suspicion. That's one of the things I do a lot. It's I look at things and ideas and I'm like, well, how do you know? That's one of the things that opened me up to being able to listen to, BM fan about, Marxism and things like that, because it was like, he's talking about Marx and he's talking about Marx as a good guy, and I'm like, Marx, I mean, he's the guy that instigated all. But then I had to say to myself, well, why are you reacting like this to this guy's name and you've never read a thing that he wrote? How could you say it? Right. Of course, BN fan never went after me like that. And he probably assumed that I had read up on Marx, as people believe what I realized. But I was completely ignorant of Marx. And so it's like, do you want to know the truth is such an important question, because... So
BM fan is the one that inspired you to read that stuff.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And, we had this conversation in another video where I told the girl, I'm like, every socialist is stupid. Have you read any Marx? You know what I'm saying? Is she there? And it happens so many times where, if you're on the right, any movement now that you don't like is cultural Marxism. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Which is ridiculous. It's an economic theory. But whatever. It's across the board, whether you're left, right, religious, atheist, gay, straight, LGBT, it doesn't matter. All of us are inclined towards self-deception. So you have to ask yourself this question, do I truly actually want to know the truth? Mm-hmm. And I've said this all the time, belief and unbelief is an exercise in volition and not cognition. It's many times we believe or disbelieve what we want to believe or don't want to believe. And it's not, people do not formulate their belief systems only because of logical syllogism. There's a lot. There is a lot that goes into why we believe what we believe or don't. And a lot of people just, fly by that and don't ever interrogate themselves at all, which is strange to me, but I probably interrogate myself too much, and I've probably wasted, 5 years of my life just sitting and reflecting on myself that I probably could have been doing something better or whatever. I don't know. But that line was crazy to me. And of course he says, where would you end up, heaven or hell? And it's an interesting question as well.
Yeah. Yep. This part, there's got to be just more to it than this. Or tell me, why do we exist?
Yeah.
I'd like to think that when I die, I'd get a chance at another time to return and live again.
Yeah.
Reincarnate, play the game again and again and again. And that part was interesting a little bit to me, because I was thinking, there's some people that are like, God, just let me die. I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then he's saying, he'd like to have the chance to do it again and again and again. And for some reason, it bugs my mind. If that was actually how, because that's not our belief system, that you reincarnate. But if you reincarnated and you didn't remember your previous life, that, annoys me.
Really?
Yes,
Why?
because if you are who you are and you were not influenced by your previous life, then you're gonna make the same stupid ass mistakes you made the first time. And like that is like, it's like Neo. You remember when he's like, they show the camera of him keep reacting to it. No, you know what I mean at the end.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the same reaction, like how many times? You know what I mean? Like yeah. That the thought of that is like wow. So like I would do the same thing, but if the belief was that you don't remember your previous life, but you are influenced by it. So it does change your moral compass or your thought processes, even though you can't nail down why you feel. You know how it's like sometimes you believe something, but you don't necessarily have the facts about it yet. You're just like, well, no, I mean, I believe this to be right, or I believe this to be wrong. Like, maybe if it influenced, it'd be different, but... But to just circle around doing the same stupid ass stuff I did before, I'm not interested in that. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That all makes sense. What do you get the song?
9.
There's a 9.648 for me. Really, really good song. I missed you, Iron Maiden.
Yep, you've been our friend.
Alliances, maybe you could request some more.
This is not an alliance. Anyway.
Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.